Where are you from?
Iran.
Iran. And how long are you in the game?
6 months.
6 months. And why did you leave your country?
No job, no money, baby, no school.
میگه چه کاری میخوای اونجا انجام بدی؟
And what do you expect for your child?
میگه چی میخوای از اونا؟ نه از اونا، از اون کشور مقصد که میخوای بری. Every work, every job is fine. Happy life or good life, something like this.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. On this episode, we will continue with the dialogue about the alleged police abuse on the Croatian border. We'll hear the rest of the interview from the volunteer doctor from Portugal, as well as from a volunteer nurse from the US, as she recalls her experience in Bosnia. We'll also get insight for the journeys that two Kurdish mothers made traveling from Iranian Kurdistan to Bosnia with their children at their sides. So first, the Portuguese doctor we heard from last episode will speak about the most common ailments she witnessed in Serbia.
Hey, I was working as a doctor in Shid. That is a small village in Serbia near the border with Croatia. And in Shid there were around 100 till 150 refugees that were occupying an old factory without electricity or water. And the organization where I was, No Name Kitchen, which is an independent organization, would go there every day, providing them some water, some gas, food, blankets, and clothes, and sometimes some showers. I would help them mostly with medical assistance, but I didn't have many resources. We didn't have many resources, so it would be mainly taking care of wounds or swollen joints or some muscle pain, teeth pain, that kind of first aid. I would see a lot of people that were beaten by the Croatia police, and that was a big problem they were facing. I saw like people with broken nose, a lot of injuries. The situation was pretty bad there. We didn't have many support, like the biggest organizations wouldn't go there to help. The biggest problem that we were facing was scabies, as known as sarna. And that was getting really bad because they would have some big wounds that were co-infected by bacteria. And it was a big problem, especially because we didn't have financial support to give them pills. So I would pay for mostly of the pills, and sometimes the organization could afford some as well, but not many. And there was another problem because Serbia wouldn't allow doctors, non-Serbian doctors, to do medicine in Serbia. So there was a nurse some weeks ago who was accused of drug dealing because she was giving and carrying antibiotics, and that was really a big problem. When I see some bad situations, I usually tell them to go to the hospital. I saw some broken hands. I saw a guy who was stabbed and he was bleeding, and I went with him to the hospital, but the doctors didn't do anything. Like they said for him to go to Belgrade, where there is a camp, and in that camp there is some international organizations like Doctors Without Borders, and so they told him to go there like 2 hours in a train. And I saw a man who was beaten by the Croatia police when he was trying to escape, and he had a broken nose, and the hospital didn't accept him as well. The worst part for me it would be the injuries provoked by the Croatia police. There were a lot, and a lot of them have had problems because they were beaten, and that's very, very, very sad.
So next we spoke to two men who had been helping us translate for an Iranian woman outside the mosque in Sarajevo, and they begin to tell us the drastic contrast between traveling as a single male, a bachelor, and as a male traveling with a woman or a family, especially regarding the behavior from the border patrol.
We go and go like maybe 4 days or 5 days in the way, then police 10 minutes back us here.
And how they treat you? How they treat you, the police? How they react with you?
How they?
Yes. How is the behavior of the police?
10 days.
The lady doesn't come with us. The police hit us, definitely. They broke my hand and my finger. And I couldn't move for about 2 weeks. But they are a family. The police doesn't say anything.
Even police broke the cell phone.
Yeah.
The police takes slow with the family.
Yeah.
They broke all the mobile. They hit with the bottoms too much. You couldn't believe that. For a show.
That's because the lady.
Yeah.
So the police respects a little bit more the woman.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And with child, like how do you know? How
Yeah,
the police-
child and woman.
They won't say anything.
They are more light.
Yes. Sometimes they offer something for eat also. They don't say anything. But for bachelor, you couldn't believe. They threw us from the mount and they hit too much. They broke all the mobile. And about 40 kilometers, we don't know where we are. And we came back to Bihać by myself. But for family, really, they care about that.
Deryada deryalıklar, ay balam suda oynar balıklar.
But traveling as a family is no easy task either. As you'll hear from the next two speakers, both women from Kurdistan, who traveled two different ways. One, while there was a visa exemption for Iranian citizens to Serbia, and the other after the exemption ended, which led them on a much longer and more dangerous journey.
شارع سیاسی یعنی تو ایران یه جوی بود که نمیتونست هر تو یه ماه چند بار اطلاعات صداش میکرد واقعا نمیتونست چون ما کرد هم هستیم تو قسمت مرزنشین هم هستیم کشور ایران با ما یه سری مشکلات داره.
This woman is from the Kurdish part of Iran. Her reasons for leaving was because of the politics issues between her ethnic group and Iran government, in particular with the mistreatment of her husband. They lived in a city near the border, and during the religious ceremony, her husband was arrested by the police and tortured. When they decided to leave, the police were once again asking for her husband's whereabouts, and they were afraid he would be sent to the prison for much longer.
چون ما تو اون جشن و شادی کردستان واقعا شرکت کردیم به خیابانا رفتیم شیرینی پخش کردیم حتی فیلمش هم داریم ولی پلیس هم همونجا بود بعد چند روز دیگه شروع کردن به مردم رو گرفتن و
When this family and other Iranians we met flew to Serbia, they were able to because of the visa exemption due to increase the tourism. But after Serbia saw the flood of Iranians using the deal to begin and crossing into the Balkan country, this method of travel was stopped by the government.
به خاطر این پرونده سازی‌هایی هم که داشت هر جایی می‌رفتیم بهش کار نمی‌دادن میگفتن تو سابقه مثلا بدی داری اساس سابقت خرابه رفتی زندان به خاطر مسائل سیاسی.
This woman and her husband traveled with two kids, an 11-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. They crossed the Serbian-Bosnian border in 6 hours through a dense forest at night, with the kids sometimes falling in the darkness and getting hurt. After the forest, they found themselves on an open road where Bosnian police soon found them and threatened to deport them back to Serbia. With the children crying, the parents explained why they had left Iran, and the police, probably feeling sympathetic, decided instead to send them to Sarajevo.
مریض که بود مریضش هم هپاتیت B بود یه قسمتی از جگرش از کبدش رو از دست داده بود.
For the next woman, her journey took quite a bit longer. She missed the window for the visa exemptions in Serbia, and instead, her crossings began from Turkey.
ترکیه ما 3 هفته موندیم. 3 هفته خونه قاچاقبر بودیم. بعد 6000
They arrived in Turkey after the border were closed, and her journey to Bosnia was much more dangerous. At one point, doing an agreement with a smuggler who had taken her family's passport, one smuggler put a gun in her head, causing her to faint.
و شوهرم به خاطر پولمون خورده بودن اینا ما رو حرکت نمیدادن، فقط پولمون گرفته بودن و
Instead of taking a flight to Serbia, they took a boat to Greece from Turkey, along with 60 other people in the boat. Their plan was drift out towards Greece, hoping to be arrested by Greek police. Otherwise, they feared they would drown. They arrived in Lesbos, an island in Greece, spent 3 weeks in the closed camp called Moria, which had 70 people per room. Doctors Without Borders have called this camp an open-air mental asylum. After they found a way out of Moria, the family traveled from Greece to Albania, through Kosovo to Serbia. They spent several nights in the forest along the border, without food, hiding from the border patrols.
به موریا 3 هفته ما اونجا تو کمپ بسته بود. 3 هفته ما اونجا بودیم و هر اتاقی.
Once in Serbia, they waited to get on the asylum list for Hungary. But today, it's extremely difficult to claim asylum in Hungary. In December 2018, Hungary accepted just 20 asylum seekers, according to UNHCR. So, after months of waiting, without any answer in sight, they decided to leave for Bosnia, where they eventually found shelter in a safe house for families in Sarajevo.
مثلا یه تخت 2 طبقه بود که بالاش امیر محمد میخواد پایینش
A volunteer nurse from the U.S. answered her questions remotely after she just had left Sarajevo. She had been part of a small team of medical volunteers that assisted refugees and migrants outside the mosque. Today, a new group of volunteers under the name CADIS are working in Sarajevo, helping those who cannot visit a local hospital. So due to the temporary status of transit papers for migrants in Bosnia, those whose papers have expired cannot receive medical treatment in hospitals, and also they cannot rent local accommodation, for example. These temporary papers were enough when the border with Croatia was passable, but with the heightened security and harsh winter, of course, these temporary papers have presented some problems and left people with 2 major options: either hope to find a space in the overcrowded camp or seek shelter in an abandoned building known as squats, which are often lacking doors or windows.
The most common thing that the migrants had would be small wounds, body pain, leg pain, sprains, dental complaints like dental pain and skin infections were very common. But almost everybody had some kind of psychological and psychosocial complaint, which was probably the most difficult for me because there was basically no referrals available for the migrants in Bosnia. You had to have an address, and many of them didn't have an address in Bosnia, of course. And that also leads into your next question: what do I do when I can't do anything? And I just would listen and try to be there for them and make them feel a little bit of care and a little more human, and just let them vent. But that was really hard. Everyone had some kind of trauma, either in their home country or just being on game or walking in the forests and being alone and at night, and now they're afraid of the dark and they're having trouble sleeping and things like that. It was very, very common, and quite a bit of substance abuse and depression and lack of will to live. And that was really hard, I think, just to hear and deal with and see all these young men with their future sort of totally unknown. As far as finances go, my NGO was really, really small. We usually only had me and one other person while I was there, maybe two people if we were lucky, and the whole NGO was run by two people. So we did not have a lot of financial support. Basically, I or a doctor or another nurse would buy the medications on our own, out of our own wallet, and then submit the receipts for reimbursement. But we could only spend so much. We basically had to choose just what was absolutely needed, what was the most common complaints, what we could do, what were the most important symptoms to get rid of, like pain is important so they can go to sleep, or frequently we would have to like for sleeping complaints give them maybe Benadryl because we can't afford a sleeping medication, and also there's the danger of giving it out. So you had to be kind of creative in what you would do because we didn't have a lot of money. And very, very, very frequently we had to just send people away saying, I'm sorry, but we can't treat that. There was one time where we got a donation for about €1,000 from a wealthy do-gooder, and we were actually able to make referrals and pay for some very needed cases. Like one man had hepatitis C, he needed a test for confirmation in the treatment, which can be very expensive. And then we were actually able to send a few people to the dentist, the ones with the worst teeth pain that really needed their teeth out, because we couldn't really do anything for that. Unless there's like an abscess and you could give them antibiotics, we can't just pull the teeth out because we're not dental doctors. But that would have been great if we had a dentist. As far as how to deal with everything, I really don't know. That's a great question. When I was there in the middle of everything, I was really able to turn everything off and just focus on the tasks that I was doing and just going task by task. But now that I've left, it's been 2 days, and I feel a bit like my mind is trying to come to terms with everything. And I think the hardest part is just the inequality of everything, and it's just so unfair. I couldn't go. I went to Belgrade afterwards. I couldn't cross the Croatian border because just every guy had been, almost all of them had been caught in the Croatian border and beaten and had their phones broken in front of them and their clothes stolen and stripped, and just these really terrible things. And it would have just been so easy for me to go into Croatia. It would have been no problem. And I think that's just really hard to come to terms with, like where you're born and everything just determines so much, and just how unfair and how cruel the world can be. I think it's one of the hardest things to deal with when you're doing this. But I just try to be strong because it's not me, it's not my life. I have this great lucky life, and I need to be strong for these people so that they can share and open up. But I would be lying if I said that it wasn't something that you need to take care of and you need to watch out for. I think just making healthy choices, like listening to your body. If you feel really upset, just taking a day off and doing some yoga or calling your mom or stuff like that is basically how I have been dealing. But I mean, I love it. I love doing it, even though it's hard. It's something I think I'll do for the rest of my life. So, yeah.
And which country do you want to go?
And I'm going to now maybe Germany, maybe Sweden, maybe I don't know.
You have family in America?
Yeah, this my father's two brothers. Okay, only families in America. Yeah, only jobs in KFC.
You work in KFC?
Yeah. This my 4 cousins. All families.
No paper, America. No visa?
No papers, no visa, no have big money, my friends.
Okay.
Pakistan is this America visa. Very expensive.
I want to go to Europe. I want to education, good working, and
Stay home. You get to go to
yes.
You want nice house? कि तुम अच्छा घर चाहते हो?
I want to for family a nice house. Yes. I working in the Europe and send money of my family.
Okay. Your family is in Kabul?
Yes, my family in Kabul.
So when you go to Europe, your family will come to Europe?
No.
Stay in Kabul?
Yeah, stay in Kabul.
Okay.
Yes.
After Bosnia, where do you go?
Go in to Croatia. After Croatia, Slovenia. After Slovenia, Italy, Trieste. After Trieste, go to Basel, Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Yes.
Why you go to Switzerland?
It's good life in Switzerland.
Yeah. You want to work there?
Yes. My dream, America, my dream.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why America?
No California, New York.
New York.
Yes.
Why do you want to go to New York?
New York, people good, job.
And what you were doing in your country before come here?
What I do before?
Yes.
Before I was a teacher, school.
Cool.
Yes.
Which kind? What are you teaching?
What teaching? Arabic.
Arabic.
Yes, Arabic.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, I'm going to England and learn like English and looking for job. It's fine. That's why we go in.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, but like now I'm 18 and I'm studying in school like 12 years. Then I see my friends, they go to college, they finish the college, then sit in the home. Nothing to do, engineering and doctor and everyone, like just sit, no job, nothing. So you cannot open the business or private business because there's no job, there's no money. And yeah, just like that. So why I sit like that? I have to search solution or something.
I would like to go in Italy or Germany.
Why?
Because I have all my family is in Italy. My sister, my father, my brother, my mother. It's all in Italy.
What they are doing there?
I can do a lot of things because I have a master in economy. I have master in mechanic. I have a lot of diploma in my countries. I would like to take a good job in Italy.
For tuning into the Balkan route. This will be the final episode with this 2018 interview. The situation in Sarajevo and the Balkans is still critical for refugees and migrants. With less asylum requests being granted and stronger security, the future for these people is still impossible to predict.
But perhaps there's a solution that doesn't involve trying to prevent the movement of people. Perhaps the solution lies in the reasons why someone would leave their own home to attempt such a difficult, long, and often dangerous journey to Europe. But for the time being, volunteers, both local and international, continue to look for some way to alleviate the suffering we have seen during the crisis. If you are listening on YouTube, those NGO links will be listed below. Otherwise, you can search for Aid Brigade, BASIS, all capitals, CADUS, CADUS, Collective Aid, and Pomoziba, that's POMOCI.BA. all currently working in Sarajevo. The artists on this podcast firstly were Orchestra Keyif, K-E-Y-I-F, and now we'll leave you with the last song called Dark Eyes. It's sung in Farsi, and it's from No Borders Music Project, which we have mentioned before. If you go to soundcloud.com and search No Borders Music, you can find a project that exists to bring the voices of those who have been silenced to the forefront. Through audio, video, and literature, they are trying to create a platform for the stories of exile to be heard around the world, using musicians as means to celebrate culture, diversity, and cultural fusion. Enjoy.
با چرخش